Hello and welcome back to Therapy Wise, everybody. So I don't normally do video podcasts for my solo episodes, but I thought I would do one today. I don't even know why, just because, just for fun, just to try it out. So today I am doing my year in review for 2024. And I went back and forth. I was trying to think about, I reflected on the year, what went on and what I wanted to talk about. And I was like, should I do challenges, wins? Should I do timeline? Should I do work and personal? I was trying to think about how to organize all my thoughts. And what I finally decided to do was I'm going to do a win and then I'm going to alternate it with a challenge because some of my wins were also, there were challenges inherent in them. And I'll get into that. And that's, often the way life goes. So that is what I decided to do. So we'll just get right into it. I found that 2024 overall, it was a year of, it was a pretty peaceful year. I would say, it was kind of a stabilization year, I guess, is the word I would use. In 2023, I had so much changing. I sold my company, I started a new company and was doing a lot. And 2024, I was kind of like just kind of getting my balance back and determining the direction of my personal life and my professional life. And it's been really, really nice. So not a tumultuous year, I would say, just kind of foundational and getting balanced out. So I'm going to start with in February, one of our wins is our family got a kitten. So we had been talking about getting a cat for a while for our daughter. So we have a dog, Mars, who we got in 2020. I had put us on a wait list just before COVID hit, actually. And then we got Mars. It was like perfect timing with COVID. And he is a wonderful little Shih Tzu Shorkie, or also known as Yoshit. That's what our friend calls him. And he's a wonderful dog, very low key. We wanted to get a cat that is kind of dog-like. Like we wanted to make sure that our cat was going to be friendly and, cuddly and soft and fluffy. And so although I would have loved to have gotten a rescue cat, we decided to get a Siberian forest cat because of their personality. So it was something that we had to kind of research different catteries around town and find one. And we got the most amazing little kitten. Her name is Pickles. And we have absolutely loved her. So we got her in February, kind of for our daughter. My husband was a little bit against the cat, but was willing to go along with it. Well, he has bonded with the cat so much that quite a few days a week, I would say probably at least 3 days a week, I have to say to him, like, Brian, you got to stop talking to me about the cat. Like, I don't have time to talk about the cat so much every day. He's obsessed. The first thing he says when he wakes up is, where's the cat? When he calls me, he's like, what's the cat up to? When he comes home, he doesn't say hi to any of us. He goes and cuddles the cat. The cat's been a big hit. They're really bonded. She loves all of us. And she's been a wonderful addition to the house. The first couple of months, her and Mars did not get along. So we were watching all these videos and reading all these things about like gradually introducing your cat to your dog. Mars loved Pickles from the beginning, but Pickles was very nervous around Mars for a long time. So we kept them kind of separate, and then we would gradually just kind of give them little introductory moments. And then over time, they become just best friends and they hang out together all the time. They run to the door when we come home together. They run to the treat cabinet in the pantry together. They have this like sibling relationship where Pickles will like raise her hand and like bop Mars in the bum, and then he'll chase after her. It's really cute. So that's been a wonderful addition in 2024. So that was a win. So then moving on to a challenge slash lesson. So one of the things that I found that happened in 2024 was that, so in the fall of last year, I started offering Impeccable, which I first named it the Private Practice Mentorship Group, and then I renamed it Impeccable partway through the group year. And it's a mastermind for therapists who are interested in personal and professional growth and growing their private practice. So I ran around starting in like October 2023 until I think February, March 2024. And so that was a wonderful experience. I also started, I was asked to do a talk on selling my practice to a group of group practice owners in the psychology world. So I did that, and I developed a whole methodology for selling your Canadian private practice, psychology practice. And I presented on that. I now have a master class on that I sell through my website. And then I also do mentorship for people who are interested in selling their psychology clinics in Canada. And so I was doing all of these things, and, I was chatting with my mentor, and we were talking about, my goals for the year. It was a few months in, and it helped me to realize that I had not been working on marketing and talking about my mastery paradigm work much at all in 2024. I'd really segued into doing a lot of work with therapists and psychologists in Canada. And although that work is really rewarding and I plan on continuing to do it, I do really enjoy it. And I launched another round of Impeccable in the fall. I realized there was a bit of self-sabotage happening in that it was causing me to avoid my mastery paradigm work, which is like my main signature offer and really primarily what I plan on spending most of my time doing. And so I think it's really important. The lesson here is just always be aware of these really subtle self-sabotaging various things that can happen, and identify them as early as possible and work to step out of that self-sabotage. So I realized, okay, yeah, I want to be doing more of my mastery paradigm work. And so when I made that realization, I began doing more of the marketing for that and, pulled myself out of that kind of avoidance of it. And I think it was avoidance of my own growth and power. We often underestimate how much we avoid those types of things. So that being said, work-wise, everything went very, very well and smoothly in work this year. I did a podcast interview series and had a number of my friends on the podcast. I did probably I think I had around 25 episodes on the podcast this year, including I launched another private podcast for therapist leaders in Canada. I rebranded and launched Impeccable, the Impeccable Mastermind, to be more oriented toward leaders in the psychology industry in Canada. And that really made the mastermind even more powerful. And I also started offering quantum healing hypnosis technique sessions as standalone sessions, and did a lot of those sessions over the course of this year. I had a sale when I first started offering it, a half price sale, and then I worked with a number of people after that sale as well. And it's been a really nice way of beginning to work with clients in just a one-off sort of way. I do find that one of the things I'm very proud of in my work is that when I start working with people, I often end up working with them in lots of different capacities. So someone might come into my Impeccable Mastermind as a therapist, and then they do a QHHT session, and then they move into the mastery paradigm. So I have very good retention for my clients, and I get a lot of really positive feedback, which is really, really heartwarming, and I love it. So the lesson is just to be aware of any self-sabotage and to, deal with it as soon as possible. Now, so I'll go back to, we kind of talked about wins with everything that was going well at work. So we'll go back to a challenge. So the last couple of years, I've been talking a lot about how I've scaled back at work, and I'm focusing a lot of my time on spending time with my kids and my family. My husband's work has been very, very busy. He owns Park Law. His name is Brian Ward, and he's a corporate commercial lawyer, and he's very busy and successful at that. And it's a very, being a lawyer is no joke. It's a lot of work, and it's pretty stressful. Like, it's very important, you can't make an error, so it takes a lot of his capacity. So for many years, he was supporting me while I was growing Ward and Associates. And so I told him, a few years ago, okay, I'm going to take on more of the work at home so he can focus his energy and attention at work. So I've been doing that. And it's a win-win. Like, I wanted to spend more time with the kids as they're getting older. I can feel that our time, with them is starting to be limited. They want to hang out with their friends, and they have sports and everything going on in their life. And, our son is 15. So in 3 more years, he could be going away to university or college or whatever he ends up doing. So I'm really feeling the desire to spend time with them. Now, that being said, being the main parent for your kids, as any stay-at-home parent knows, is not always the easiest thing. So this year, I really felt some of the tension and pressure with that, or I don't even know if tension and pressure is the right word, just some of the challenges with that, of it's kind of a thankless job at times, making meals, driving them around. Sometimes I'm like, do you guys even appreciate all of the energy and attention I'm putting here? And it's funny because I'm feeling this more now at this stage. And I didn't feel that a lot when they were little, probably because I was working so much that, we'd come home, we'd spend a few hours together, and, they were in daycare. And so I just didn't feel this it didn't feel like a burden. I was excited to see them at the end of the day, Whereas now I'm we're spending so much time together. I'm driving them to and from school every day, which is it adds up to about an hour and a half every day, even though their schools are not that far, just between traffic and waiting for them. And, their schools start at slightly different times. They both started new schools as well. And, one of them's in tutoring, we have physio and other medical appointments, and just a lot of things going on. They both play competitive sports, so they're busy almost every evening. And our son has a girlfriend, so he's wanting a ride to her place, and she lives kind of far away, and just all the things, right? Just parenting things, all very normal. Nothing's going wrong. But I really felt that I was man, I'm spending so much time on all of the things with them that I wasn't able to have the same capacity to work in my business as I like. I love working in my business. If everyone's gone for a little while, I'll scurry into the office and do some work. And this year I've been I want to work more than I have time and capacity for. Just driving them to and from school, really shortens my workday. And so I've had to learn how to be much more picky about how I spend my time, much more focused. And I would say, like, at times I felt a little imbalanced in the direction of so much time on family stuff and spending time with the family, and not enough as I would like at my work. But I'm always trying to remind myself that, like, there's no one on their deathbed who says, like, oh, gee, I wish I would have worked more and spent less time with my family. Right? So yeah, I'm trying to remind myself of that. But, like, my kids are also teenagers, and, they're wonderful kids. Like, I'm not complaining about them at all. They're really great people, but, not always appreciative of all the time mom puts into, helping them out. And so, yeah, sometimes I'm like, "Ugh, man, my clients are so much nicer to me, appreciate me more." Right. So I've felt that tension a little bit this year. And my husband, he's been super, super busy with work and was away a little bit. I'll talk about that a little bit in the episode. And so, yeah, I was like just doing a lot with it, with the family. So I don't know what the lesson is, but just kind of, I just wanted to normalize that has been a bit of a challenge in this past year. Now, it's also been a blessing. So I'm also going to name that as a win, that I've spent a lot of time with the family. I took a sabbatical in the summer, and I did a whole episode on that, so you can listen to that. I think it's called The Life-Changing Effects of Sabbaticals or something like that. It was just a few months ago. I loved the sabbatical. I was really glad that I took it. It was a lot of, our son was playing, both our kids play competitive sports. So he mainly plays ice hockey in the winter, but in the summertime, he played provincial, westerns, and national ball hockey. And that took up most of July with traveling and going to those events. So we all went as a family, and it was nice to not have to, usually when I'm doing those types of things, I get back and I'm extra busy. And this time, because I was taking this break in July and August from work, I was able to just come back and not have a lot of backlog of things to do in work-wise. So that was really nice. And I spent a lot of time with the kids. They, had their friends over, and, we did lots of fun stuff. And yeah, I made them lots of meals and drove them around and made sure they got out of bed, and, all the things you do. And it took a lot of pressure off of, just, when I have to work in the summer, when the year before, when I sold my business, I worked a lot in the summer, and I found it really difficult because the kids, I'd come home from a long day at work, and then they would be like, I haven't eaten all day and I want to go to so-and-so's house. And, I'm sure many of the parents relate to this if you have teens. And so, yeah, I was just like, ugh, I found it really stressful. So this year, we spent a lot of quality time together, and that was really nice. Now, I'm going to go to another challenge. So in the fall of 2024, I felt really good and balanced. Everything was going well throughout the year. In my office space in July it was a year lease that I had signed for my office space. I signed it in 2023. So in July of 2024, it was coming due to re-sign. And, maybe 2 months before that, the landlord told me that they decided to move back into the space. And so I had to get out. And so I decided to not get a main office space again, because I didn't really need one. I do a lot of work from home, and we have a really perfectly good office here. I love working from home. So I decided to just rent an office space 1 day a week at a wonderful place called Balance Wellness here in Sherwood Park, and then mostly work from home. So in many ways, that was really, really good. I was disappointed not to keep my office, but in the whole scheme of things, it was actually a really positive change in many ways. However, one of the things that happened with that is I'm now working from home I'm also doing a lot of the, family activities and tasks. And I did find that I was like, when you're working from home, sometimes people don't always value your time as much. Like if I were to just kind of go away to the office, I think it would be a little bit different. But when I'm at home, there was definitely a lot of like, hey mom, can you drop off my bathing suit? I forgot it for phys ed class. Or let's say if my husband's working from home in the morning, he was interrupting me a lot, like, hey, let's talk. Do you want to hang out? He always wants to hang out a lot when we're at home. Whereas I'm like, during the day, I'm like focused and working. And so I found that a little bit of a challenge. And like, I love that my husband wants to spend time with me. His time that he wants to socialize doesn't line up well with my time I want to socialize sometimes. Like during the day, I'm like focused work wise, whereas he'll sometimes work kind of later into the evening, but I can't do that because of things going on with the kids. So it was just kind of, I was feeling a lot of like, okay, I need time to focus on my work. So that was going on a little bit at home. And also, I came back from my sabbatical and I went straight into, I had booked a lot of client sessions because I had taken off the summer. I had pushed a whole bunch of quantum healing hypnosis technique sessions into September, October. And those are full day long, very intense sessions. And then I was doing a really big launch for my second round of the Impeccable Mastermind. And that launch involved a private podcast called The Therapist Leader, lots of emails, lots of social media. There was just a lot of moving parts. And then I did intake calls with people who are interested in the mastermind. So it was a really, really exceptionally busy time. And then it overlapped with school starting, soccer tryouts, volleyball tryouts, hockey tryouts. Both the kids were at new schools. So it was just like there was a lot going on September, October. And I felt like I had too many things happening. Actually, at the time, I don't even know if I realized how many things were happening. I was just, I just put my head down. I was working hard. And kind of like late October, early November, I was like, oh, I kind of hit, like, I don't want to call it burnout, but I hit like sort of a wall of, oh my gosh, I've been doing too much. Like I wasn't posting on social media. I was a little behind on my podcast recording. And the funny thing that happened was sort of funny, sort of embarrassing. I feel bad, but a number of things happened all at once. One thing was I was kind of dropping some balls. So I had signed up for parent-teacher interviews and at one of the kids' schools. And there's this one teacher who's like such a hard ass. Like he's just very, very like picky. One time he said to my daughter, did you do the extra worksheet? And she said, I'm really sorry. I didn't. I know it was optional. I just didn't have time with soccer. And he's like, did you have time to play on your phone? And she was like, well, maybe a little, but I was really busy. That's kind of how he is. So I knew he was like this very anal type of teacher. I had a parent teacher interview with him and I forgot to go and realized it like later that night. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot that. Then my dad got in a terrible car accident he had come to visit us and went on a driving trip to British Columbia and got in a really bad car accident, was very significantly injured. And his partner was also, she was injured, but not quite as badly. He was basically incapacitated. And I wanted to go help, but I was just so busy with the kids and their sports and their school and my work that I couldn't go and help. So my sister, who has like a little bit more flexibility, ended up flying out and helping. And we had to airlift him back he lives in Saskatchewan, so it's like a few provinces over. It was very complicated. So that was happening as well. So I was trying to help out as much as I could, but logistically, I just couldn't get there to help. And during that time, when my sister needed to go and fly out to help my dad, I said, okay, the least I can do is drive you to the airport. And she said, sure, that'd be great. Thank you. So I plan on doing that. I had a super busy day and I forgot to drive her to the airport. Like, I still feel terrible about that. She texted me and I was like, oh my God. And I only live a few minutes away and I got there in time, but it was kind of tight for her. And like, she was making this huge, step to help everybody. And I didn't even do my little part there. I felt terrible. And then the next week, I mixed up a time and I missed a client session. So those three things happened all in that period of time, which was just pointing to I had too many things going on, like too many things on my plate. And obviously balls were getting dropped. So right around that time, my husband and I had pre-planned months prior a trip to the Dominican Republic. So we went there in November for 2 weeks with the kids and another family. It was lovely. It was the reset I needed. And then when we came back, I've been fine ever since. But I think the lesson there is, I have to really just be aware of, I have a tendency to overwork. And I did way too much in September, October, and I got myself into, just a state of not functioning as well as I needed to. So I'm going to be more conscious of having more balance, especially in those times where there's a lot of activity going on with my kids, like during those tryouts in the fall and like school starting and volleyball tryouts. If any of you have done club volleyball tryouts for girls, it's craziness. Hockey tryouts are crazy. Soccer was, much more mild when it comes to the stress level this year. So a very good lesson to just be aware of how much I'm taking on. And then so segueing into wins again, we did some really wonderful travel this year. So my husband has a wonderful friend who is very generous and took him to the Edmonton Oilers, the hockey team. If you're not familiar, they were in the NHL playoffs this year. And as everyone who lives where I live would know, but if you live somewhere else in the world, you may not know that. And so it was a huge deal. My husband got to go to a whole bunch of the games, all expenses paid. He went to Miami, went to Dallas, and went to the games here in Edmonton. He was a total jinx. Every game he went to, they lost. So yeah, don't invite Brian to any important games. But anyway, he had a wonderful time traveling. But I think that also, like, he was away a lot of that time. And then he was invited to go to Europe on this beautiful trip to Greece and Spain, and had a wonderful time. And that was in the summer. And so I think it's wonderful. A lot of people are like, oh my God, like, aren't you jealous or mad? I'm like, no, I think it's wonderful. He got to go do that. And so he had those times away. So I was kind of holding down the fort at home. And then I also got to meet up with him in Miami, and we spent a week there. And that was so much fun. I love that city. It was really a good time. And then we went on this trip to the Dominican. And so that was our real win this year. We had some really wonderful travel. And, when Brian was away, I love staycations. So I just hung out with the kids at home and it was all good. So that was another win. I also wanted to talk a little bit about an experience I had with one of my mentors. So I was doing an energy healing kind of internship that I had been wanting to do for like a long time, years and years, like probably 10 years. I'd have to look at the exact dates, but a really long time. But it's quite intense. It takes you have to do daily meditations. You have to go to the US twice There's like weekly meetings, and the weekly meetings kind of change in the different times, last minute. So if you have a really strict like client schedule, it would not work very well. So I treated myself to this internship last year in 2023, and it went all the way to like June 2024. And in the fall of 2023, I was loving it. Everything was great. It was everything I wanted. I went to the first retreat. It was amazing. And then there were some things in the program that I wasn't loving. It wasn't very trauma informed. I personally I don't have any big T trauma, and I'm very regulated and healthy. So I was fine. But there were some things where I was like, oh, I don't like how you run this, right? And then I had an experience. So they had kind of a virtual retreat where they asked us to do some volunteer energy healing sessions and document, all the things we did, present the case and at this retreat. And it's like an online Zoom retreat. And they would give feedback and healing based on what you present. So, and they said, we'd love it if you did it really soon, like ASAP is better. So I was like, the student that I am, I'm like, okay, I'll do this right now. I'll do it really early. So I got someone to do some volunteer sessions with and did them right away, wrote it all up, said, okay, I'll present at the retreat. So that was great. So there's about 40 of us in this group. And I was one of the first presenters. I wasn't the first, but among the first. And so I presented, and they told us, like, be really honest about any insecurities, any challenges, anything that didn't go well. So I was just like really honest about like, I was in my head about this, or, I wasn't sure about that, or whatever. I was just like being really open and vulnerable on this case presentation. I felt like I had really prepared it and done a good job. I worked very hard at it. And the way they respond to the case presentations, they basically just like tear apart what you did wrong, with no like, no balance of, hey, you did a good job here, or any of that. So it was like, people would put their hand up. I don't think she did this right. I don't think, this. And then they do healing on deep wounds that the healers are identifying in you based on your case presentation. And so it's a very vulnerable thing. The people who went before me seem to have like kind of a softer kind of response. Mine, it was like, she needs this. She's working too hard. She's this, she's that. And I was like, geez, this seems really harsh. Like, I don't know. It just felt really, really imbalanced, like no positive, even though they said like, my healing itself was fine. Nothing went wrong. They were just saying things like I was trying too hard and, all these different things. And then the person who was doing my healing, she was saying things really, really in a way that I took it really hard. In part, so her first language is a different language. It's not English. And I think there was like a translation effect where some of the things she was saying sounded way harsher than she was probably meaning, but just it was the translation impact. So, and also like, I'm Canadian, we're really nice. We would couch things in like a sandwich, positive, negative, positive, or whatever, whereas they were not doing that. So by the end, it was like a half an hour of like what felt like attack in front of these 40 people. And like by the end, I was holding back tears. And then they were just like, okay, who's next? And I was like, no one even asked how I'm doing. So, and I had to hop off and I had to go. My son had signed up to play basketball. I had to go to a basketball game right then. And I remember sitting in the gym, just like holding back tears. And yeah, it was really upsetting. So I reached out to them. We were supposed to have a buddy that was like helping us in this course. And no one had ever assigned me one. So I reached out to her and we debriefed. I felt better. Then, the course continued. Then I went to the second in-person retreat in the US. And again, some things were happening there that I wasn't impressed with. I wasn't happy about a number of the things. There were some cliques, like some groups of people that I wasn't feeling like they were being very nice. There was, even though this whole group is generally very, very loving, there were some dynamics with the person in charge that I wasn't impressed with. And then I didn't feel like I was getting a lot out of the presentations. And yeah, I just was disappointed. And then at the very end, the woman in charge said, "Whoever wants to have a conversation with me, you can line up and I'll talk to you and do some healing with you at the end." And it's like you could have like five minutes with her. It almost sounds cult-like, I know. So I thought, she's an incredible healer. So I thought, I'll get in line. Maybe this will, make the whole time worthwhile. If I get something, healed or an insight from her, that'll help me leave on a good note. So I waited in line, got to the front, and she was like, said some like harsh things to me. Like, "You're really far away from where you need to be. That keep following me for, years and years and you'll eventually get there." And I'm thinking to myself, huh? Like, a lot of the people who work with her are like newbie healers. Like, I've never done any healing before. And I'm like, 15 years in, like I'm over a decade of experience. And she was talking to me like I was like, I've never done healing work in my life. It was like completely insulting, honestly. And like by the end of our conversation, again, I was like almost crying. And I left the retreat early and flew home. So it was kind of at the end, there was a lunch that I missed and a few other things, but I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And it was really interesting because it helped me to see my own strengths. It helped me to see what I don't want to do in my own work. It helped me to reinforce what I already knew and some of the skills and abilities that I have. Yeah, there were so many lessons that came from that. So I'm actually really, really glad that it happened, even though it was challenging at the time. And so, it really reinforced to me, I am super, super picky about who I work with. And this mentor, I'd been following her for so, so many years that I think she was a better fit for me many years ago, when I was like kind of a baby healer, early in my career. And now I've just moved beyond what she can offer. And I feel like she sensed that too. And yeah, it just wasn't the right fit. But I continue to work with my shaman, Makosi, the royal shaman, and my mentor, Violetta Pleshakova. And we do like deep and impactful work together, and they help me in so many ways. And they are my people. And yeah, I'm just going to continue working with them because there's always more evolution unfolding in our work together. It's so funny. It's like ironic that I had to stop recording and go pick up my daughter from school, and our son has tutoring after school, so I have to go pick up him shortly. Made my daughter some food, and then our dog had peed on the floor because he hates going outside in the cold. So all that is dealt with, and I'm back to finish the episode. So normally I wouldn't even tell you guys that, but that's like speaking to some of this balance stuff. And, basically the lesson that I want to learn with that aspect of life is, I'm always going back and forth about, I could have the kids do more on their own. Like I could say, hey, you can make your own snacks. She totally would have, you guys need to do this or that. They're also very busy, and my husband's also very busy. So I'm always trying to kind of navigate the best way forward. So I wanted to wrap up this episode by talking about a little bit of the plans I have for 2025 and what I plan on focusing on both personally and professionally. So when it comes to work, I definitely plan on continuing with all of the parts of the business that I have going right now. So I plan on having two launches of my impeccable mastermind for therapist leaders. If you think you might be interested in that, I'll put the link below. You can learn more about it and apply. So I'm going to do a 3-month kind of shorter mastermind in the spring and then another launch in the fall. I'm going to continue offering quantum healing hypnosis technique one-off sessions, which are intensive days where we do past life regression and healing. And I will offer the practice potential mentorship, which is helping Canadian business owners either buy or sell a psychology clinic. And then, of course, my mastery paradigm work is my signature offering. It's what I spend the majority of my time doing. And then I also am planning on offering occasional readings via my email list. So if you're interested in hearing about those, you can join my email list. I'll put a link below this episode. I'm also doing these 2-hour-long intensives in January 2025. And these are for leaders. They're for people who would be interested in the mastery paradigm. So leaders and entrepreneurs and healers who are interested in releasing blocks, letting go of some of the perhaps sabotage type behavior or anything that might be stopping you from achieving the goals and the opportunities and the wealth and the abundance and the growth in business and in your personal life, anything that you desire, that you want to speed up the achievement of and clear the blocks and get ready for. These are 2-hour intensives that I'm doing in January, and it's called the Catalyze Intensive. And yeah, they will set your year up for massive success. So I'll put the link below this episode for those intensives. I also am planning on developing a course on the different components of the mastery paradigm. So there is an offer that people can study on their own. And I'm planning on doing it as a group offering for the first time, and then maybe a self-study course after that. But I wanted a more accessible version of some of the work that I do that isn't quite as intensive as the one-on-one mastery paradigm work. And then on a personal level, I plan on, my goal is to really continue with most of the things I'm doing now. I am very focused on my own growth and health and well-being. I'm going to exercise in my home gym. I have an infrared sauna that we got this year, so I'm very happy about that. I use that almost every day. Walk my dog and do my spiritual practice, connect with friends regularly, do my work, spend time with my family. This year, I do, on a personal level, I want to focus on planning my life out a little bit more in advance. I tend to be a little bit like, I'll plan maybe 3 months at a time. I'd like to have more longer term planning because then I can be a bit more organized with some of the offers that I have happening and time away and all those things. And I'm really going to focus on simplifying my life in 2025. I've been really exploring gene keys. If you're familiar with gene keys, that is wonderful. If you're not, you can go onto the genekeys.com website and learn more. It's basically a method of understanding your underlying energetics that were present at the time of your birth. And one of my key components of my gene key profile is that I strongly value simplification. And that has been true all throughout my life. Like, I love decluttering. I love minimalism. I love capsule wardrobes. If you see videos of me, I'm often wearing kind of a version of the same thing. I kind of have the Steve Jobs sort of, we don't wear the same outfit, but you know how we wear the same thing all the time? Kind of like that. And I want to amplify my simplification in my life because sometimes I allow things to get a little too complicated, which was what happened in the fall of 2024. And so I want to go back to my simple way of living, which really, really works for me. All right. So I have had such a wonderful time doing this episode. I love doing these review episodes. The review of the year, it forces me to kind of look at my year and really reflect on it. And I'll be doing a deeper dive in for my New Year's process. Oh, I should also add that I have a free gift that I'm offering right now as a New Year's Eve type of activity, and you can do it from now until the end of the year and then beyond. I recorded it as an Akashic vision quest into the Akashic records. If you're not sure what the Akashic records are, they're basically the kind of metaphorical spiritual records of everything that ever has been, is, or will be. You can Google it for more. And I did a vision quest into the Akashic records to help you plan your next year. And I have some journaling prompts and various things. So if you're on my email list, you will have already received that. If you are not on my email list, you can sign up below this episode and I will send out that vision quest for you. It's a wonderful thing to do on New Year's Eve. All right, I will connect with you again in 2025. So have a wonderful holiday season and we will connect again really soon.